What is up, y'all? Back at it again. Make sure that you drop a comment. Leave a like. That's a way to help us push us in the algorithm and get this world-changing information in the swim game out to others. You want to help others like I do. That's a great way to support us. Hit that like button. All right, so we're going over, why Reykli? And, think about it, you have all these different swim products. You got the Race Club, you got Go Swim, you got, I think it's My Swim Pro, right? You have all these different services to try and help you become a better swimmer. And the title of this is Why Reykli? Why is Reykli superior to all those other ones? And this is something that I've been trying to articulate for a long time. Definitely since I started officially doing Reykli in 2020, 2019. But even as a coach, I saw the advantage that we could press, and we did at a high level, but I could never articulate the why, right? It's, to me, when I remember thinking this, it's trying to convince people they have a problem they don't know exists, and that you have the answer to the problem that they don't know exists, right? How are they supposed to buy your service or something if you're the only one with this answer to this problem that nobody knows exists, but you're telling me it does? It sounds like a scam. And, luckily I've always produced, always converted what I said into not just getting faster, but results, time standards, achievement at a high level, top 50, top 100, top 50, top 20, top 10 nationally ranked swimmers. So the articulation is, we're going to go to it kind of through three things that are why you choose Reykli, right? And I think no other product out there has these three things figured out to the point where it's about performance, right? We're not talking about technique and getting faster. We're talking about, hey, yeah, you got your technique. Yeah, you know how to get faster. Now it's time to go achieve some goals. Now I need the Lambo. That's us. Okay? So let's get into it. So we're going to go over three main topics. And something that's interesting as I'm writing this down is I realized how big of an influence Pearsall was on my overall training philosophy. And especially, and this is why I say I think I'm chosen, the one-of-one information that I needed to know to make Pearsall's training philosophy to me work, that's ordained. That's preordained, dog. Anyway, so the three things, right? One was being told you don't know how to swim by David. In my own experience, I have my notes right here. My own experience of not knowing how to swim and seeing TAG, which is Texas Age Group Swimming Championship, it's our 1400 championship meet. With the kids there are usually AAA times, pretty close to, not really close, 4A times, and our top three, especially our winners, are fighting for the top 10 spots in the country. I'm watching these TAGs champion, these top 10 level athletes, violate the things that I'm learning. Okay? And that's when I was like, okay, there's a real opportunity for us here. Let's just say that's my team, right? I just became a coach on that team. I know I can help that top 10 kid now for performance standards, not just swim better. Okay? So, through basically using their muscles, using all that dry land strength and applying it to the pool, which they don't. It's straight up. But most swimmers, most technique does not do that for you. The second thing was technique leakages. And this is kind of the problems, not kind of, this is the problems that I knew were there that they don't know were there. You do a drill, I think we're going to use, what drill we're using today? We're using catch-up drill, right? Catch-up drill has, I should have numbered this. Yeah, I should have numbered that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. At least 11 leakage points, right? That are either propulsive based, negative propulsion, so you're pushing yourself backwards, or drag based, right? And that's just catch-up drill, which is supposed to teach you how to kick in distance per stroke, right? There's 11 those two skills, kicking and distance per stroke. There's 11 things within those that can help a swimmer swim faster if they take care of each thing. It's like doing a basketball drill. You got dribbling the ball. You got making sure that your hands are below your knees, which means you got to be able to stay bent over and in a squat position for a long time, which means you need to be in some type of weight strength program where you're getting the strength to be in a squat position for an extended amount of time, to have your low back screaming at you. So you got to get your low back strength up, right? So those are like the leakage points around just dribbling the ball in basketball. So that's what I'm talking about. So technique leakages, understanding them through the lens of world-class technique. And when I talk about the advantage of Reykli, you can only coach what you know, right? And I have an intimate knowledge with world-class swimming and the techniques that those people use, right? There's my time at UT swimming next to, lane buddies with Pearsall, lane buddies with Garrett Weber-Gill, lane buddies with Kathleen Hersey. Working with David Walters and Ricky Behrens. Working with Jimmy on freestyle, watching Jimmy on his freestyle, watching those guys on their freestyle, getting tips from Garrett, swimming breaststroke with Brendan Hansen in practice where they're teaching me about breaststroke pull, him and Friedland. Talking to Crocker about butterfly technique, breakouts, especially breakouts, backstroke, Pearsall, right, the GOAT. Then going to SwimMac and training with Ryan Lochte, training with Tyler Clary, which is more backstroke information, and I am. Learning about sprint freestyle. Got a few, some advice from Colin, but most of mine I came from Ariana Vanderpool Wallace and Madison Kennedy, who gave me, especially Madison. Shout out to Madison Kennedy. She gave me a ton of great advice. She probably doesn't even know it. We probably maybe had 3 conversations, and then one thing where I was asking her about some, like, to me it looked like a bullshit drill in the weight room. But now I look back at it and it's like I totally understand like what she was trying to show me about sprint freestyle. Like it was like, if you'd seen it today, you'd be like, today you'd be like, okay, I see exactly what she's trying to do. But in 2013, like, nah, bro, it was not hitting like that. It was a goofy thing to do in the weight room, but brilliant. I look at it now and it was brilliant. Like, it's one of those things you see and you're like, everybody in the country needs to be doing this. So shout out to Madison. Shout out to Madison Kennedy. And then the third thing is Pearsall, and this is where I say the more I articulate it, the more I realize how important his influence was in the way that I coach, the way that I tell athletes to train, the way I tell athletes to work hard. Like, without these other 2 things, I didn't know how to swim, understanding the leakages, Pearsall's advice doesn't work. But once you understand those other 2 things, Pearsall's advice, like, you can control your stroke and like the leakage things, like, you can fix it and you can train it, right? So if you have all 11 leakages fixed and you can train them, you can train your ability to reduce drag, you can train your ability to avoid negative propulsion, you can train your ability to produce propulsion at a high level, like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Like, and like I said, with the technique leakage things, like, most, I would say, my competitors, they have the technique, the world-class stuff. Maybe. I don't think they do. I'm going to say it. I don't think that people learn from the world record holders of 100 of butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, the coaches of all 4 strokes, world records, sprinting 100 and down, or I guess back then 100 and down, but all 4 100s, 100 free, 50 free. All American records in short course events at the NCAA Division I level. The American record holder in the 50 free, the American record 50 meter free long course, the American record holder in the 100 free long course, the world record holder in the 200 IM, the 200 back Olympic champions, first girl to go 46th, first high schooler to go 46 and really dominate through underwater dolphin kicks, like high school boy. like the level of information that I'm working from and screening and looking for leakages, like I think it's a one of one, right? Combine that with Pearsall's belief, Eddie's training methodology, and David's methodology, one of one. So it's like there's too many barriers to me to why Reykli is going to be the best product and why you should pick it. But anyway, let's dive into this, right? So I don't know how to swim. We're gonna kind of go over the timeline. And I have a highlighted portion in here, which is very important, I guess, for you to know. You don't know how to swim. So I had, like I said, I got to college, and the first thing I do when I get there is I'm asking for video film on everybody swimming-wise. World record holder backstroke, sprint freestylers. I remember I got the Eamon Sullivan 100 meter free long course world record swim where it's underneath him. You see how symmetrical and beautiful his freestyle is. And I'm just breaking film down. Okay, when they do this, what's this angle? What's this elbow angle doing? What's this wrist angle doing? Is it a flat paddle like this? Oh man, I don't know if I can do this. Is it a flat paddle like this? Or is it a flat paddle on the backside like this, right? Which means that this is a little bit angled, right? There's a little angle right there. So it's like that level of detail, which I don't think they're doing either. Just everything, all four strokes, every angle, every frame by frame by frame, 3 a.m. in the morning, Eddie's getting mad at you because he thinks you're staying up playing video games type of film study, okay? So I know all the techniques that are going down, right? I know all of them. I'm teaching myself them. And then I get to the US Open and I go my best time, drop a ton of time in the 100 free after basically 3 years of not. And Eddie gives me his blessing to go talk to David. And I remember David basically telling me I didn't know how to swim, which he was right. He was talking about how like my hips were misaligned and they kind of jackknife and bounce, and I'm slipping water. And so I go train with them. I get to swim back. Like I said, Madison, Cohen, and Ariana are helping me out with my freestyle. And David, of course. But I remember when I finally figured it out about a year after, it's like 6 months after I left swim back, it was just like, oh, like this is swimming. And particularly, David calls it inside out swimming, but before that you have to be able to leverage yourself so you can actually use your inside core, outside hand to swim. Like Ricky was always telling me like, you need to swim with your rotation, right? Now I'm taking it as literally like, if this is your rotation moving, like swim with it. But what David meant or what Ricky meant was swim with your rotation. Use your rotation to pull. And that's what it was like. There was a little bit of anger because like, man, it wasn't anybody's fault. Like, how would they know that I didn't know this stuff, right? But, well, except for David, right? He knew. But it was just such a, like, light bulb, like, the first time, like, if you're this, like, total heathen, like, the first time you see Jesus, right? It was like that. And, like, if I would have been everything that I knew I could have been, if I had known this, let's just say, it's just even college. You say I didn't learn it in high school. Like every day in practice, my heart rate's like stays at 220. So it's not like I'm not working hard. I'm swimming basically with only my legs every day in practice, and they're on fire to the point where I basically am reduced to being a kid who can't jump. Everybody on the team thought I had no vertical. And it's like if I could have trained my arms. Okay, we're getting off topic. But it was like the power of swimming with actually using your muscles, right? Everything that everybody at UT, everything I'd seen in video, it all now made sense. And I was able to take everything I learned watching video at UT and actually use it the way it's supposed to be used. And then getting to age group coaching and seeing all these violations from these great swimmers. And it's like, oh man, like if they're doing this, one, they're going to plateau, but we can take our swimmers and teach them these things, and they'll have skills that allow them to compete up to that level or get close to that level, because the other swimmers aren't going to get much better because they're holding themselves back. We can close that gap. That's a real way to put it, right? As I said, I'm learning to articulate myself. We can close that gap, and we did at big time. All right, so the technique leakages. So I've been doing one-on-ones technique coaching since I was 14 years old, right? So this has been 20 years in the game for me, over 20. Yeah, just over 20. So everything I learned, I took, and I started trying to teach it at the club level, right? And I remember specifically trying to teach sprint freestyle and connection to these 14, 15 girls. And we finally got it. And then I got a new group of swimmers. And it was like, it took me the whole year to make sure they understood the details. I need an actual system. And if you're in the Reykli Technique Solutions, or you've seen the older versions where there's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, it's an actual progression system, right? So I have to now make sure this system works, right? Like I was teaching them like the actual hands-on world-class technique and teaching them the errors to avoid without like anything written down or something like a guideline to follow. Basically explaining it to them as a club coach the way it was explained to me, but through the lens of a club coach to high school or teenagers, right? So now I'm trying to make it into actual drills and stuff for high conversion, because I refuse to spend the whole year teaching somebody something just to not be able to like have to teach it over again, and the mental hurdles and stress that came with it. So I'm teaching these world-class skills and like through drills, and I'm realizing that, like I said, this top ceiling information, it's not converting, right? And I see leakages start popping up in technique, and it's just like, oh, you know, you see this in sports all the time. Gerald Green, if basketball player, look him up. Gerald Green, basketball. Gerald, the way it sounds. You know, guy with a 50-inch vertical. Vince Carter's another great example. And it's like, how is this guy not a Hall of Famer? Well, he didn't have the skills, right? He never shored up his leakages to be this elite talent, or the elite player he was capable of being with the talent he had, which was transcendent and beyond everybody else in the league. So I'm realizing that a lot of these techniques have high leakage points of talent leakage, right? They're not converting talent into performance. So I am now trying to solve these issues, right? Like, okay, maybe I can't do the high elbow catch or the early vertical forearm with a 10 and under, but I can do the actual pulling in a flat straight line, so that way they're only going forward and not zigzagging, right? And maybe there's something else I can add to it that the world-class swimmer does that doesn't disrupt that, right? We're talking about those 11 points. When we get to the end, you're going to see what I'm talking about. But I'm organizing all this world-class content into the appropriate age group based on their motor skills, how they use their motor skills, you know, also with obviously with what they can and can't do with their motor skills, and whatever, like the outer edge of just what they can do, right? So that way it gives them something to chase and something to literally translate to their ability to improve it into performance. And man, it took a long time. I'd say, I'm not gonna say it took a long time, but it was a lot of mental work, you know, 2015 to like 2018, getting the system down, maybe 17, and then seeing the results in 2018. Yeah. And in 2019, we are gone. I remember we had this girl, Ella, never had a B and A time before, got her first A time in the 50 fly, aged up the next week, and then by June of 2019, so that all happened in, her first A time happened in November, and by June, May, so by May of 2019, so within the same calendar year, long course season now, she goes her first double A time. Like, she goes from BB time, jumps straight to double A time, skips A time as a 13-year-old. She just aged up and outswims some of the girls in the groups above her. And it was like, yeah, like we got something now. And then obviously there's the American development model where they have like like be able to do these intervals for this much time, like 30 minutes sets with these type of intervals. And we couldn't do that. We could probably make it maybe go like 5 minutes, and they were outswimming the performance standards, right? So this is what I'm saying, like this world-class information we are screening that for leakages and making it into drill progressions. We're going to talk about the all this is going to be the train your technique part. We're about to wrap this up. And the drill progressions that can be repeatable and applied at scale to your group to produce high performance that exceeds even what USA Swimming says you should be able to do. Exceeds what USA Swimming says you should be able to do if you can train this way. And we can't train that way. We worked our way there, or we were, improving, working our way there, but we were exceeding them with 5 minutes of training, not even at the 40 minutes mark yet, right? So what's that, 1/8? 1/8 of what USA Swimming recommended, we're already blowing away their standards. Technique leakages, man. So, all right, the final piece. I talk about the examples at the end. So there's 3 things, and then there's a 4th one, bonus, where I'm going to take you through like exactly what I'm talking about with the leakages. So Pearsall, train your technique, right? So I said this before, but I didn't realize how big of an impact it was. Like, if you've seen Slumdog Millionaire, man, I don't know, Slum Negro Millionaire or something. Because it's crazy how, like, even the UT experience, right? Brendan Hansen, Aaron Pearsall, Garrett Weber-Gill, Jimmy Fegan, Cole Cragen, Ricky Behrens, David Walter, Scott Spann Jr., like, Kathleen Hersey. Like, that is all on the team at the same time. Learning from those people, like their actual techniques, and then going to a place where I learn how to apply power to all those techniques. And then I get to take that and figure out how to make it apply for, that bottom 75 talent group through seeing the leakages that they don't even know they're there because they're world-class athletes. But they're world-class athletes. They're performing well. How would they know that their favorite backstroke L drill doesn't work for most? It works for them, but the things that go on within it, all the individual pieces, they figured out naturally because they were just athletes or talented or whatever have you. So I say all to say, like, I didn't realize that, like, figuring out all this stuff, how it would have made Pearsall's training, which was in the last year, is when I learned this about, or he told me, how all of these things I learned would be necessary for Pearsall's lessons to actually work and be effective, right? When I then teach it to kids. Let's see. And really, if you can take that and apply it to what I learned from Eddie, how they train, how Eddie had his training, how David had his training, like, you'd be unstoppable if you had the talent. Right, if you were 6'8", 7'2" wingspan, 36-inch vertical, great work ethic, high tolerance for pain, and you knew what Pearsall, the power stuff, and then you got that advice from Pearsall, like, you'd be able to do whatever you wanted. I'm convinced of that. So, like, and the thing that Pearsall is about, right, I guess I haven't even said it yet, was using your technique to go fast, not going fast. So imagine, like, there's you and you're trying to get down the street in your neighborhood, right? And you just run as hard as you can, right? That's going to take a lot of effort. Now, say you take that same, like, just take the calories, right? The energy. And now you're in a car and you apply that same caloric input to the car with the pedal. Right? So the technique is your car, right? Now, within the technique, there's the individual things that make it work. There's the stick shift, there's the brake, there's the clutch, there's the gas pedal. Like, those are all the leakage points. And when you can control all of them without them inhibiting each other, or what's it called? A millionaire shift. If you don't know what that is, it's where you go the wrong direction, or you accidentally slip into reverse when you're going fast, and it just completely rips and tears up your engine, and it costs a lot of money. Ergo, you need to have millions to fix it. Millionaire shift. Like, being able to train those things to make the car go fast, not you trying to go fast, is what Pearsall meant. Okay, so now we get into the bonus, which is the leakages, right? So the one we're going to do is catch-up drill, right? Now, I love catch-up drill. People don't like it for obvious reasons. You don't want to race doing catch-up drill. But the benefits, if you have all the pieces, like what Pearsall says, it's the best freestyle drill. The best. Like, not even close. Catch-up drill, not catch-up drill. Zipper drill, fingertip drag drill. Really, the derivative drills that proceed from catch-up drill, I'm not going to include those. But, like, the equivalent, like, basic learn how to move, basic motor skills for freestyle drills. So, fingertip drag drill, zipper drill, catch-up drill, like those type of drills, this is like the best one. So the purpose of it, right, at least when you think about it, I didn't know this when I was swimming. Nobody told me. So that's an issue. That's a huge leakage point, is you don't even know why you're doing it. So catch-up drill, learn how to drive your kick. You're swimming from your kick and distance per stroke, because not being able to pull until your hand comes back in front is the most distance per stroke there is. Okay, if I'm here and I pull halfway through and then my hand, like I've just had my distance per, not half, but you get you fractioned it. So you get my point. So so those are the two things. All right, the leakages, we have it. So these are things that the swimmer is susceptible to doing, probably will do, that will hurt their ability to perform. All right, they can do all these errors and improve and learn how to swim, but these errors are not going to help them to get time to standards. They're not going to help them be the Lambo, okay? So we have late breathing, big one. A lot of times they'll pull and then they'll breathe here. Second one, stalling kick by over-rolling, same thing. They over-roll to get to their side so they can breathe, because you're always telling them, breathe in between the shoulders, breathe in between the shoulders. So now they're over-rolling and their kick just stalls. They stop kicking because they're trying to focus on the breath, okay? We have stalling kick for balance. So a lot of times why it stalls is because they're trying to balance themselves, right? While focusing on the breath, or if they're not focusing on the breath, they're trying not to roll over to their back, because you probably yelled at them, don't go to your back, right? You have drowning kick, where they keep kicking, but now it's sideways, right? So it's not breaking the surface of the water. And then you have the rudder kick, where the kick, like, though we know you're supposed to kick both ways, but then when they roll on their side, it gets stuck like this, right? It doesn't go back, which is a combination of balance, sideways, but it's just a bad kick, right? It's bad for that kick in every 3 strokes in the race is not good, right? Especially when they start getting tired and it exacerbates into this hot mess. Like, it's just not good. Okay, so that's 5 leakage points. The jackknifing during the recovery, right? So if they turn, maybe, especially if they're breathing down in the middle and under in that pocket, their whole body is going to curve like this, right? Which means the water pressure is hitting them, it's going to push them sideways, or they're going to have to make an overcompensation, which is usually going to be coming over like this. So their hand goes this way, so they're jackknifing this way, and they come over like this to pull their body back into line. All right, now when that happens, to make sure they don't over jackknife, usually their pull will push back this way, push water this way, to make sure they don't overcorrect and they go forward. So dang, I need to write that down. Jackknifing the body through the recovery is actually 3 errors. So I'm going to put a +2, 3 total. Overcompensation. So that's like one example of overcompensations that a world-class athlete will figure out and get away with, that yo kids ain't gonna get away with. And then what do? Band-aids to try and fix it, which means they're taken away from something else, right? Pulling around the body. So that's kind of what I just said, where they might, when they jackknife, push wide out here. But what I'm actually talking about is, a lot of times swimmers are taught, be here with the arms next to the head. It is very easy, and the body does not like to work. So it's going to go through the least path of resistance to work. It's going to engage the catch this way, right? Which means your pec muscle is completely open. You're not making a lot of power, which is a leakage point, right? We're losing propulsive power. Bicep drag. Maybe they come over and they put their head down, and then now they're dragging that bicep through the water, right? Or they pull into, well, we're gonna get to that one next, but bicep drag, that's negative propulsion. Overreaching, right? So they're in the air, and instead of putting their arm in the water, they reach up and like forward, and then they roll and they're dragging their bicep in before their hand hits the water. So there's 2 actually. So +1. Diving down. So they overreach. This is where the gallop, the up and down comes from. It's not actually from diving down. It's because the weight of the arm gets so far in front of the center of gravity that it pulls them down, because that heavy arm in the air just sinks them, right? Lifting the arms behind the back. So they pull and maybe they go here, which I know it's why a lot of coaches are talking about like finishing through. But if you have them doing the right posture, it's going to solve this issue. So, getting behind the back to weird pinchy situations. If you're teaching shark fin, which, is a great fundamental skill when touched on, shouldn't be a staple for the aforementioned reasons. So pinching and back shoulder movements, and then pitching with the shoulders. And this is why I hate fingertip drag drill, because a lot of times, especially with girls, is they'll pull, and then the fingertip drag, they just move their hand, but they leave their elbow. So they're not moving their elbow and shoulder to swim. They're moving their hands. And I know some of y'all have seen this, especially with girls, how they kind of push reach like this. And I just felt my shoulder click right there doing that. Like, this is not a natural swimming motion. Now, when we throw a ball, we're above it, right? And we're connected. But even then, we're kind of in front. We're not back here. Like, your shoulder can't, if you bring it up like this, you can't get back there without feeling pain in your shoulder. So the solutions, right? So we have 3 drills that we use for our beginner 12 and under BB as a performance standard content. But in terms of if you're like running a club team, this would be like your 9 and under content you want them to master. With just this content, we've been able to get to A and AA times, but we don't want to overshoot what we can promise to you, even though I want to promise you that, but I'm just, sometimes we all get a little nervous, you know what I'm saying? So it's BB, but it's side breathing, the 1, 2, 3 drill, which is catch-up drill, and then, or it's a catch-up drill into how we want to actually swim for distance per stroke, and then a bouncing kick / posture alignment, which if you're doing your side breathing drill is where kind of the posture alignment is going to naturally occur. So side breathing, late breathing, we're going to literally go through some of the drill. I'm going to not show you the drill, but show you how I teach it to solve these problems. And a lot of them overlap. That I can show you. All right, so let's open this up real quick. Okay, so right there's all the leakages. So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. So we have 14 leakages. So side breathing solves all of those. The 1, 2, 3 drill solves all of those. And then the posture alignment solves all of those. Now you'll notice that some of them double up. Right? So that means if you're not teaching this one right, it could solve this, but when you bring it to the kick, it could cause this to be an error. Right? So this is where I say there's your leakage points, but then there's being able to make sure the leakage points don't cannibalize each other. And I don't think the coaches who are working with the best information in the world are not coming down and spending 5 years with the athletes where your leakage points are going to show up, to then find the concise way that everybody can use it to benefit from them to where it works, right? So we have the side breathing. It solves late breathing, all those. I'm not going to read them. But the way that we do it is belly button down. They're doing their bounce kick. So you get to also make sure that you're practicing the drill, right? How we want to kick. But the way that we teach them to swim is under the chin. So the shoulders under the chin, they're breathing, they need to keep their belly button down, so they're turning over their shoulder, which is going to naturally cause the body to roll a little bit, which is what we want to see in our freestyle. And then when they reach, they're supposed to be going underneath or in front of the body where there's no pinching. Okay, and then they go downhill And the reason why we want them going downhill is because when they swim and they get here, the moment that they roll, boom. And all you gotta do is bring it to their chin, right? So like I said, solving leakage points when these drills are done correctly, okay? So they're kicking, they got their feet splashing, they're not crossing over, they're reaching in the right place. So as soon as they roll, all they gotta do is lock their elbow out. It teaches them how not to stall their kick, how not to drown their kick, how not to do a runner kick, because they got to splash the whole time they're doing this drill with their head up. So they got the weight of their head going on too, and their arm in the air. So they're like, every reason to not kick correctly is there, and they're fighting against it and getting confidence over doing it. There's no bicep drag because they're going downhill, fingertips, they're not overreaching, right? And like I just showed you, that when they're going downhill, if it was the real thing, the moment they twist, fingertips in first. Because of that, they're not diving down. Because they're on their side, like I said, they're not lifting behind their back, and they're actually wide where they're supposed to be. Instead of back here like this. Even if you want to take it to like the top level where we want to be over the top, boom. Over the top. But now I'm moving over the top in front of my body. Right? So, boom, right? Our side breathing drills are perfect. Our 1, 2, 3 drills, so that's where we would have maybe a little bit starting off with the shark fin, and then we go head tap for the exact same reason, and then just straight downhill into the water, same reason. We don't want to be here and then overreaching and all of those errors. Bicep drag, which is there. The reason why we talk about the chin under the shoulder, so this is also, did I put it in there? Pulling around this body. I did not put it in there. What is it there for side breathing? Oh, no, it's not. I'm tripping. So let's add that real quick. Excuse me. Okay. So, and then we go head tap. And the reason why, I remember where we were now, is because when you tap the head, boom, when we start getting to the real drill, you're going to get here, and then you're going, because you're on the inside, you're going downhill, which is our side breathing timing, right? So there's no disruption, no cannibalism there. As far as you have all those leakage points fixed, and then you have the actual drill. The actual drill does not violate, or execution of the skill does not violate when another skill is executed. So you're going here, and then you're going straight through 3. There's your catch-up drill. You're under your chin. Now, because you're under your chin, this is actually the easiest path of resistance. Right? This takes more effort. Right? If you have your belly button down. If you're on your side, maybe it makes more sense. But we swim with the belly button down, and because of that motor skill, that's how they orientate themselves. So this is a lot more natural. So now we're actually using muscles, right? And we might actually start developing sprinters. So there's our 1, 2, 3 drill. Then you get just going close to the spots. Like I said, now that you're close to the spots, you get here. The moment you pull, or the moment you would go through, boom. Now it's just a straight normal entry instead of overreaching and slapping, which would have bicep drag. Then you get to our actual way we want to swim for distance per stroke, the 1, 2, 3 drill. 1, 2, 3, pull. Now it's 1, 2, 3, pull, replace. Boom. And keep in mind, none of these things are violating each other. And then the last one is our posture kick, which for the 8-unders we don't teach, but we do teach them how to pull their hips in alignment as a necessity to get their feet up on the surface and splashing. So because of that, they're keeping their belly button down. We don't have any jackknifing of the body, right? There's no stalling kick. There's no bicep drag because the 2 drills that we're using do not allow for bicep drag. No diving down because we're not overreaching. And no late breathing because with our side breathing, everything that we teach them is to breathe first and then pull, right? Which we take this to our distance swimming. That's how our distance per stroke at the world-class level swimmers are swimming, where they're breathing through their pull, and really in case of Sun Yang, breathing through their recovery, which is like a 2-second breath. It's crazy. But definitely through our sprinters, where we want to be turning our head over that shoulder, which would also be the enter point if we were doing our early breathing, right? So that's how we're taking these world-class skills and screening them for leakages, and then harnessing them. And then maybe even though we're not teaching them early breathing, we are teaching them a drill that has a gateway to early breathing. And by actually teaching the motor skill of it, one, we know the talented athletes are going to naturally pick it up. But now even the bottom talent athletes have a chance to pick it up. So it's just, this is what I say, like we are leading the way. We are changing the game. It's because like these leakages, they're either drag related, negative propulsion, or propulsion related, right? And in some cases, multiple. Actually, I have one more thing I'm going to pull up before we get out of here. Like stalling kick is drag related if it's a rudder, right? It's not making power. It's just creating drag. It's not kicking, so it's not creating propulsion. And now because you're on your side, you're going to have a weird rotation that no matter what you do, if this is where your shoulder line is, your shoulder has to go wide, right? If they didn't do anything. Right, if I'm here, it's got to go wide. So if I'm here and I start pushing to the bottom of the pool, the moment I roll, I'm wide. So it's like there's so many leakages, and we just have 15 of them, right? And I went through and checked because you do one thing right, and then you see it jack or mess up two other things. So it's like, okay, I need to make sure that this breathing drill doesn't mess up the other things. And that's like where you see the arm swinging wide, and if they're over rolling, it's okay. Like, okay, so we need to make sure we don't over roll, but then we also need to make sure that it doesn't just not swing wide. We need to make sure it stays in line. So just making those adjustments to make sure that the kids have what they need, and nobody's doing it like we're doing it. So the final thing we're going to take a look at real quick is I think this is from 2016. It is a video. It's when I like made all this stuff into coaching materials. Here we go. Optimization PS. Here we go. Boom. Okay. So right here, you can see, wait, what? Why is it doing that? Sorry, this is like off center, guys. I don't know what's going on. That is weird. Okay, there we go. All right, so you can see here for freestyle, it's like small-bodied athletes need good kick timing, low drag, and low negative propulsion, strong rapid kick to be successful, right? So all of those 15 things need to do this. They need to make sure that timing isn't disrupted, that we have low drag, low negative propulsion, and a strong rapid kick to be successful. So a lot of their ability to achieve is going to come from their kick, which it's a lot easier to develop good kickers by having that be their socialization in the sport versus when they're older and they have strong leg muscles and now they have like a high return of lactic acid to hard work. It's not a fun time. Make this easy for them, for your athletes over the long term, right? But yeah, you can see all the things. Driving success, kick, establishing rotational timing, pull, recovery, rotation. Skills are drag and negative propulsion based, right? Rudder kick, stalling kick. I forgot the other ones. Drowning kick, dragging their biceps, right? So we're just getting them out their way so that way we can make sure that when the swimmer does their kick right and applies themselves and does their breathing right, their effort into their swimming equals performance. Backstroke, we're looking for minimize drag so their power can work. Negative propulsion in backstroke isn't so bad because they're always going to enter shoulder fingertip last, shoulder first fingertip laps, which is obviously not good for freestyle, but it's a hard thing to avoid. And these guys are so small that it's not going to stop them or hinder them too poorly. So breaststroke, in too much of a negative way, is just drag. So for them, the drag isn't necessarily drag from the front. It's the drag from going down and coming up. So just getting them swimming in a flat line. And then butterfly, drag, and negative propulsion, right? So making sure they're moving in the same kind of principle as breaststroke, not up and down to where they're creating drag, but just not dragging the arms through the water. Making sure they're entering in a way that's making less splash. That their breath timing is correct so they're not spending too much time vertical. And then a lot of the propulsive power is going to come naturally through the up kick. If they're doing all these other things that, like the things that avoid dragging negative propulsion will create a great up kick, right? So by doing these other things right, we don't cannibalize up kick. We actually enhance and enable the driving force we want for our butterfly. So that's it, guys. Like that's the key things of why Reykli. Those three things. Those are the three things that separate us from everybody else. It's the knowing how to swim, right? I didn't know how to swim when I first started. It's understanding the technique leakages from the world's best, right? Not I swam at Division II. No offense to anybody. We're just talking facts right now. Not I learned everything at Division II level, and that's where I found out my leakages from, which you didn't. Not I'm a top or 5 through 10 NCAA team, and that's where I found my leakages from. Like, no, the world's best and the conversation that they've had with other world's best, learning, and then them telling me. That's the information that we are looking for the leakages in. So there's just too many barriers to success. And then finally, the train your technique. Now that they have all these leakages fixed, they know the key things that you can, as a coach, you can yell at your swimmers about. Not here. Get it wider, right? Which we know all the benefits of that, and that doing that doesn't cannibalize other things, right? Which if you're here, you're going to overreach, right? Which is going to make your legs sink, which maybe cause some scissor kicking, which may cause some rudder kicking, right? Which may cause some bouncing because now you're too far up, which means now you're probably going to sink and you're probably on your side, which means you're going to push wide to make sure, like, just, exactly the things that your kids need to train to go fast. Shout out to Pearsall. So that's it, guys. Not knowing how to swim in my personal experience, and then learning how to actually swim and make power, understanding from the world-class material the technique leakages, and then solving them, and then being able to train those, or minimizing those leakages, and enhancing and enabling the power of the stroke so you can actually train your muscles to last for whatever purpose you need them to. Those are the why Reykli things, is that we've solved the technique leakages from world-class technique, and we've made it accessible and teachable to coaches worldwide like you and me who want the information of the world's best, don't know why it's not working, but now it can convert to make sure that your athlete's talent ceiling can be realized. Once again, make sure you drop a like. It helps us in the algorithm, helps us get this message out here so we can help more people. And make sure that you subscribe to Reykli. Peace. Y'all have a good weekend.